Hi, thank you for joining me. My name is Darren Stevenson, probably watching my YouTube channel. If you're not, feel free to stop by, share something, wander around. There's some interesting ideas and signals toward intelligence there. What I'd like to talk about today is a topic so general that it's kind of frightening. It's the difference between space and structure. So the difference between how different kinds of spaces are structured, by what sorts of activities take place there. So one of the things you can probably understand immediately is that we use automobiles to travel in much of our modern lives, and you should realize that that's a fairly new phenomenon for life on Earth for many billions of years, because more billions of years than there were history of Earth, because each of the creatures that lived on Earth was a kind of a living time of its own speed. Some faster, some slower than our human time. And each of the populations is sort of a living sea of time, right? Because each one of those beings is experiencing time uniquely, and then all of those beings are experiencing time in kind of a set of all of those beings, but they're also experiencing time with all the other beings on Earth. So Earth is like a layered star of relational time, and you can understand this with a simple model. If you spin the Earth around the sun one time with one person on it, you get one life year. If you put two people on it, you get 2 life years. Not 1 year, you get 2. So, and the really weird thing is you not only get those 2 life years, but you get this strange space. See, this is the structure. These are the 2 people. They're structures. They're coming up from the Earth here, right? And then you have this space, which is the environment, yeah? And that gets structured by them being in it. Just like Facebook was really boring until we got there, and then we structured it. It's a space, yeah? And by being there, we structured it, and that structure became valuable to other people, right? And reaching into our presence in that space, these other people made mountains of money. Well, what did we make exactly? Now I made some things, and I'm not sure a lot of other people did. I'm not sure what they made exactly. That's not so important. What I want you to understand is 2 people around the sun, one time. That's 2 life years, okay? Now, but if you put something with one of these persons, say a bacteria, just one. Of course, these people are... There's 500 trillion bacteria. I think that's the right number, 500 trillion, about in a person, an adult person. About 50 trillion animal cells, about 10 times that many bacterial cells. That's what they call germs, by the way. That's what antibiotics kill. That's 90% of you. Just to be clear on that, science sort of forgot. Hang on just a moment. One of my neighbors would like to interrupt us with his machine, or at least emphasize. Science sort of forgot. That was actually a good point, a good emphasis. Science forgot about 90% of the body. When they talk about your DNA, they're talking about 10% of it. And when they're talking about medicine, they're talking about 10% of medicine, because they've ignored 90% of it. Much like space. They don't know what 90% of that stuff out there is. They don't know why it's there. The stuff they're calling dark energy, I know what that is. I mean, it's not hard to understand if you understand structure and space. Okay? The incredible interactions of elements of structure, right? Elements of hard structure, like us, like bodies, like a planet, like a sun. They instruct the informing space around them, just like as we do in Facebook or Twitter, right? The Twitter is just a template, yeah? And then we instruct that template, and then we draw into that template ourselves, or aspects of ourselves, or our expression, actually. And then that template comes alive. Yeah? And so a human person is kind of like that. They are, in many senses, more than one, a template, born an animal, ready to become any animal. If you raise a human baby among snakes, you're going to get a snake. If you raise it among machines, you're going to get a machine. If you raise it among humans, as we can see, if you raise it among humans, you got a question on your hands. I mean, what do you got there exactly? Is it a human just because you raised it amongst them? No, what you got is a prototype. you've got a possible human. And whether it's a human or not, in other words, whether it's it developed into humanity, sort of depends on what you think humanity is or what you'd like it to be. It doesn't have to be a specific thing. But we can kind of look, without knowing exactly what humanity is, we can look at a lot of what we do as, cultures and people trapped in cultures, prisoners really. We can look at a lot of what we do and realize it's not very human. Our medicine is not very human. Our cultures aren't very human. What we call liberty, it's not very human. It's not natural, meaning it is part of nature because nature's everything. It's not natural because it's biophobic or it's biocidal. It actually just assassinates huge swaths of living intelligence, wipes them out, and replaces them with like photographs and malls and cars and jets and war and books and pictures and internet things and, whatever. I mean, just any old thing to get rid of the living beings as quickly as possible. They don't have a voice, so let's just turn them into stuff. Well, they did that with U2, and that's the whole idea of YouTube, right? Turn you into stuff. And then they sell that stuff, and then you don't get anything except attention and a little bit of money, maybe. So they'll make basically what happens is this. You guys start out like this. Okay, here's YouTube, here's you. You're real, they're fake. They set up Potemkin Village, which is a phony facade of a structure. And then you start moving in. Yeah. The moment that starts happening, this starts happening. And then pretty soon, it's like this. And then it just keeps going like this until someone else takes their spot. And then this new person picks up where this guy left off. It looks like this for a minute. But now the time frame between this and this is halved, right? And the time frame between this and this one getting taken over by another is halved. And that's basically how our culture works at every level. And underneath all that are dying, crushed beings and ecosystems and futures of human beings and living beings that actually lifted us to the possibility of all this intelligence that we're dumping down the toilet and burning up for things like greeting cards and, memes and photographs of nature that is destroyed by us photographing nature instead of being nature, in the same way that if we just photograph our children and we don't relate with them, well, I think you can see what happens to us and our world and our children. So we need to understand this whole interplay of space and things that structure it. Because there's sort of, in a basic way, there's two kinds of things. There's things that structure space in ways that oppose intelligence in life and tear the web of life and intelligence apart. Now, those ways are still natural because they're in nature. And they're not necessarily evil because they actually produce intelligence, weirdly enough. But we want to stop them before they burn the whole planet down as like a luxury snack for 10 people. That is off the table. Okay, that we need to just stop right now. And one of the ways that's going to happen is we're going to play together in little pods of incredibly intelligent human beings in nature, with nature, all the time from now on. And so the people who are mimicking intelligence and are pretending to be heroes, not that this hand is bad, this is a really good hand, actually. This is actually the hand you want to be a little bit confused about, a little bit skeptical of. The right hand, my camera's reversed. This is technology. It kind of makes things backwards and funny. Now, I want you to think about a few different ways that structure informs space. Okay? I want you to think about when you walk down the sidewalk. Okay, that's a structure, but it's also a space. It used to be a living space, now it's a dead space, so that you can walk down it faster and not be interrupted or troubled by anything that might be alive. You wouldn't want that. Living things are kept behind fences. Rosebush is going to attack you. They got thorns and things. There's bees and hornets and stuff all around there. I mean, spray that stuff down, man. That's your own intelligence you're killing off, by the way. But you're fencing in like that. You're paving over. It's your mind. Underneath that stuff is our minds. It hurts. Anyway, you're walking down the sidewalk and you want to cross the street. Well, those are two different speeds of gaps. So the sidewalk has one speed. It's basically safe for you to walk on at that speed. It might not be for animals, because you could be riding a bike and an animal could get hurt, or you could get hurt. But basically, the sidewalk's generally safe. Now, next to the sidewalk is a much faster thing, but it's not owned by life. It's owned by dead angels. An angel is anything that crosses a gap, by the way. We're not talking about religion. We're just talking about, what's the word? We're just using language in a playful way. So we're going to imagine that the street is a real gap, because it is a gap. We've got to cross the street to get to you, to get to anywhere I want to go. And it's not made for people. You can't lie down or sit in the street. You can't hang out there, right? Living things are not it's game over for living things that want to stay in the street. We all know that. And it's not about a court case or anything. You're in the street at the wrong time, you're killed. There's no decision making, or it's not about a conversation. It's not about beings being beings. It's about blam, you're dead. There's nothing like that much in nature. There's no place in nature that moves like that ever. You mean in all 4.5 billion years? Yeah, right. In all 4.5 billion years of history. The only thing that moves like that would be like a flow of lava. But even that's more intelligent than cars. And even that leads to, something like life. So we got this weird gap thing, this street, and there are these strange boxes on both sides, and they surround our living enclaves, by the way, these weird metal boxes. If you'd ever seen a cell attacked by viruses and you made the comparison, you'd realize those are viruses, because what viruses do is they're not sort of living, they're structure. They're sort of like really intelligent structure. And they take over a living cell, and then they make that cell replicate the structure of the virus madly. Yeah? And that's how we get sick. But viruses aren't just bad. Viruses are a little bit like honeybees, and even bad things aren't just bad. So you can't get rid of all the bad things. You don't want to do that. But if things have gone way out of control, you want to at least recognize them, right, together, so you can figure out what to do. You don't have to have one person telling you, or scientists demanding that you think their way, or religious people demanding that you think their way, or philosophers their way, or gurus their way, or guys like me my way. No. No, we just need to be able to see better. If we can just help each other see, then, and understand how structure and activity informs space, which is the environment around it. That's actually memory, by the way. That's mother. That's space. Matter comes out of it, and that space is memory. So that living places used to actually be our memories, which is why we have these memory games where people build a living travel route in their mind, and they light up little things all along it that they want to remember in a sequence, and then it works. The reason is that our minds were built that way in nature. Not built, but they were instanced from nature in that fashion. Yeah. Now, the cars surround our city blocks just like viruses, and we reproduce them madly, and we have wars over the fuel to make those cars and make more cars, and we're lying to each other and killing each other over these boxes made of what? We're burning down the human future madly, and each other, and our history, because we're lying about all of our history. We're not fulfilling it. All the wars we fought for liberty and justice and intelligence and well-being, we flushed all that down the toilet so we could just have terror and war and prisons and things. And horrifying, lying nightmares of monstrous people ruling over us all over the world, and just ripping what's left of the environment to shreds, and blaming us for our poverty while they skyrocket into egotistical stratosphere of money, power, and abuse. Really just abuse of life on Earth and all of human history, all of the history of life on Earth, all of the future of life on Earth, just flushing it down the toilet. They're kind of upset that anything that beautiful could even exist. So they really don't want anyone to discover it or have any access to it. It has to be shut down right now. We need to just get the human hand completely off of nature so that there's no chance of reconnecting with each other in any way they don't control. And it's not a conspiracy. This is just human intelligence not being properly how should I put it, managed, right? No one's doing any checking. No one's playing the game. They're just letting the powerful domineering forces rise madly because everybody's being sort of passive and fearful, and these guys kind of know what they're doing, and these people don't. So we're going to teach these people what these guys are doing, and that will actually get us back to here, so these people can tell these people how to lead, right? And protect us, and do the things that they're supposed to do, like ensure that, A, we have the social infrastructure to produce humans instead of prototypes, that you can just steal the humanity that they bring to their birth from them, or make sure they never develop it, and then control them like slaves, right? And one of the ways they do that is with little viruses called machines. You've got one that you love to keep in your hand. I watch people walking around with them outside all the time. I don't carry one. I never have had a cell phone. I'm a technician. I'm a ACE, iOS and Macintosh troubleshooter. I've been working with these computers since they were invented. I was a beta tester for Adobe Illustrator, amongst other things. I know a lot about technology, and we're following a monster into hell, literally. The hell that we're creating out of representations that we think are glorious. Meanwhile, the living world and our actual relationships are being burned down. And we're not paying attention to that. In fact, we're being isolated in our homes and we're having goods shipped to us and things. Seems like luxury, doesn't it? You can get all the information without going out of your house. How much of the experience can you get? I mean, are you living a fictional life through other models of things rather than heroically discovering what you brought to your human birth and what this whole story is all about? Because if that's what's going on, I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about intelligence. It's human intelligence. Are you getting some? Are you really getting some? Because most of what I see out there is copied stuff that doesn't build or look intelligent. It's not friendly to intelligence. I see things like the streets, right? And the cars. Did you notice that not only do the cars own the streets so that nothing can cross them, never mind humans. I mean, humans can maybe figure out how to cross and try. They still get killed. And they get killed in the cars too. They get killed for the cars all day long. And the cars really, they're just attacking everything that moves 24/7, and the humans don't want to admit it. So essentially everything the human beings are doing in terms of machinery and like producing stuff to sell is ripping their own minds and the living planet to shreds. And they're kind of dancing around like they're activists anyway. I'm sorry, you can't own a car and be an activist. You can't just go around like, no, I'm not going to make extreme hyperboles. You know what I mean. If the car is a deadly, lethal virus that we don't use to come together, by the way, a little bit, mostly for personal stuff we use our cars. And it's a luxury that, if we understood the cost of it in 2014, like the actual environmental cost, all the way around of a single trip to the store, we would never touch it again. It's probably something like 1,000 birds and 10 people just to go half a mile in your car in 2014. And I mean, it's way worse than that, because actually what will really happen is over time, as the effect amplifies of that tiny action in your car right now, in a very dangerous time in Earth's history, as that little act amplifies, just like you taking a picture and showing it on the internet, as it amplifies into millions of shares, right? Becomes significant really quickly. Here's the weird thing. Not only do the cars control the street, they control where you can enter it because they're blocking it. And they have space you don't have the right to. They can just sit there occupying space. And if they're in trouble, you pay, not them. Do you pay insurance for them? So are you paying blood money on top of the damage that they do just to exist and take us to war and fuel them and run these around? At what point will we not be able to afford that? Did we even look at it? Have we been taken over? You know, everybody's worried about like aliens and invasions and conspiracies and things. What if we are the conspiracy? What if, just right in front of us, the basic things that we're not doing as human beings are the conspiracy? The very simple things like spreading memes that say there's conspiracy, but not being intelligent or drawing people together and just frightening them more. Does that sound intelligent? Because fear breaks people apart, right? It takes what could be this, which is really useful, and it makes it this, which is actually these things just fight each other at that point. We can't do that. So what I want you to see is there's something very interesting about gaps and space. Now, cars are an example of a deadly virus that's killing everything on Earth. There's nothing good about that technology. An intelligent species would build that once. They might keep it for a year, and after that they would see, in 20 years this will kill everything on Earth. We have to stop now and find another way. And they wouldn't be like making another way that polluted and killed things and needed roads either. See, if you guys got free energy right now, lots of people think like, if only Tesla was alive, you would have been dead a long time ago if Tesla succeeded. You're lucky he went nuts, because he was about to give incredibly broken monkeys the key to blow everything up. And right now, your scientists are basically busy doing the same thing all day, 7 days a week. They have no idea what life is. They want to give everyone the power to just burn it down and celebrate that madly. You guys are out of your mind. You've got about 0 years left to figure this game out, because it's been going on so long. There's now 7 billion of us, and we're too dang mean to bear another year of 7 billion, right? One time around the sun, 7 billion human life years. We better do something amazing, because we're going to burn the world down if we don't. It's that simple. Let me show you something amazing. It's called honeybees. Now, a honeybee is a lot like a car, except it travels between stuff to save other beings by the billions. Yeah. So when they do that, they make honey. Yeah, when they go out and save other beings by the billions and become the reproductive transit across every gap in nature, they become intelligence like mad. Okay, like intelligence like our species has never even tasted. That stuff they make called honey, that's the byproduct of their intelligence. That's the exhaust. We eat that. We think that's good. Let me just tell you a secret. You're going to think I'm being religious here, but I'm talking about intelligence in nature. If you get to know a honeybee hive, and I don't mean like a beekeeper, I mean like someone who originally knew a honeybee hive as a part of their body and mind, okay? You're going to have an experience yourself so shocking that you'll never want to watch another human movie again, ever. You won't care what it's about. Because you'll be living a life that's more exciting than the wildest stories of heroes you've ever seen. And you'll have powers of rescue that make the fables you've heard look weak, as if they were tanking. You'll wonder why everyone was sitting down so long. A bee is an angel. It links beings together. Beings, did you notice that? Yeah. And in networks like constellations that are hyper-intelligent, living places, not just single beings, whole universes. Now, there are bees between worlds because Earth is a flower. In case that's not obvious, hi there, my name is Pollen. In my mind, I have a garden of neurons. Something crosses the gaps between them, the space that gets structured by that crossing. That's what the bees are doing, but they're structuring it intelligently. The cars and the internet are ripping it apart. That's why the bees are dying. That's why our minds are tanking. Our minds are like the flower gardens. They have nets of neurons. And the neurons are hard structure, right? But they inform the space between them with neurotransmitters. The way that we're using chemistry in nature and the way that we're using technology in terms of transmission is screwing all of that up. And it's ripping nature apart and our intelligence. This doesn't have to do with religion. This doesn't have to do with any specific way of knowledge. This is just human beings examining themselves and what they know in nature. Now, cars are one way of dealing with gaps. Do you notice that bees don't just pierce you like a bullet? Run right through you, but our cars do. See, that's the difference between intelligence and something that isn't intelligence. And I'm going to be going on a lot about this in future talks, but I want you to just think very carefully about all the ways that structure informs space in nature and in your life. In technology, in literature, you've got a blank page, there's little squiggles on there. The structure and the space. Yeah? And the little squiggles are informed by the space. In other words, the other little squiggles around them change what they mean. Just like you and me, we're kind of these wiggling things, right? And the page is our world. And we are writing a story, but it's not in frozen letters, and it's not by laws or rules. It's by sensing and mutual relation. It's not by memes or governments. It's by connecting like this. Yeah? Where this is our purpose, which is beautiful and true, and not fake and stylish, and then this becomes intelligence, like a pod of dolphins or a hive of bees, not like an army of cars. Be careful in the street. Learn about the differences. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now. I've got a visitor.